Hi friends, welcome to Shine with Marilena Cortez and Mark Sedgwick. We're so excited that you're joining us today. It's going to be a very interesting and inspiring topic, which is about leadership. So please let's welcome Mark Sedgwick with the quote of the day.
Hello everybody, welcome back once again. So today's quote goes like this: true leaders do not create followers, but they create new leaders. So what kind of example can I give you guys? So as the best example I can think of for that can fit with everybody is parents. So everybody has parents. Everybody came from some two people who had you, right? Or whatever your situation is. But so parents, the way that they are leaders is that they are your mentor. They are your guidance throughout your life, or at least throughout your beginning stages of life. For example, I guess I'll go ahead and say what I was going to say here. Good parents are unselfish leaders. So unselfish leaders, what would an unselfish leader do? They would share their knowledge with you. They will teach you how to ride a bike. They'll teach you how to eat correctly without throwing food in your face. They'll teach you the little things in life that you need to know to be successful in life, to be happy in life, to grow in life, to flourish and make your time here on earth worthwhile. So that's my example of a good leader, is a good parent. So
that's right, Mark. And you know what? No matter what profession you're in, you can be a great leader. And like Mark said, even in your family, you can inspire and lead your children to become the best they can be, And today, joining us, I have two amazing leaders who are doing amazing things, not just at home, but also in the educational world. We have the co-founder of Leadership Partners, Mr. Lawrence Cohn, and his son, who is a 7th grade math teacher who just graduated and got his master's degree in educational leadership, Matt Cohn.
Hello, guys. Welcome.
Hi.
So where are we going to start?
Well, I would like to start with Mr. Lawrence. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
It's an honor to have you guys. I personally admire you guys for what you do in the school system, but also at home. Mr. Cohn, you are a great leader at home. You started giving your family a good example. Tell us a little bit about what inspired you, or who inspired you to be that amazing leader that you are today.
Well, since we're talking about families, that has to go back to my parents. I was very lucky to have been adopted, and I was an only child. But my dad was a pretty amazing role model. He was a professor. He was a community activist, and growing up, I just always felt like I admired him so much for what he had accomplished in terms of getting his education and getting a doctorate and and being a professor, that it very much inspired me to reach the same levels, and so that's what I did.
That's beautiful, and especially when someone that you love and admire can inspire you. I think that's just like probably the best feeling in the world, because you're not looking up on a video, you're not looking up at celebrity, you're not looking up at anybody you're not even in contact with. You're looking at somebody from your house.
It's like somebody you can actually, hey man, how's it going? Shake their hand, and look up to them and study them in person. There's no better way to have a mentor than in person. Of course, you can get a mentor online. Study people, footage of them or their books. Through books you can have mentors that way. But yeah, like you said, family, in person, that's like the best kind of leader you can have. Your coaches, your professors, your teachers, all that stuff. That's like the best way to get it is in person, really.
Yes, and what I wanted to ask you is, you are the co-founder of Leadership Partners. What made you think of starting this business?
So, Leadership Partners is an offshoot of a program that was at Rice University for the last 8 years called the Rice Education Entrepreneurship Program, which was born because local philanthropists recognized a need for principals to learn a little bit more than they did when they went to school. And so the theory behind it was if you give them business acumen, for example, the program that was at Rice used Rice business professors, and the leaders would go through the program and they would learn things like strategy and marketing and communication. Because when you think about it, when you're leading a building, a campus, you're really running an organization. And in education, we don't teach so much organizational topics as we do about being an instructional leader and managing some people and things like that. So that program ran for about 8 years, and when philanthropy dried up, two of us that worked for the program and a consultant who worked for us, we decided it was important enough to keep that sort of leadership development going. So we formed Leadership Partners, and so now we're an LLC, but we still partner with Rice and deliver a similar, but what I think is probably even a better program now.
That's awesome. So for those of you who want to, find out more about that program, please go visit www.leadershippartnerstx.com.
Right.
It's a great program, and I'm a teacher. I've been a teacher for 22 years, and I actually have the honor of working for the same agency as Matt does. So Matt, thank you again for being here, joining your dad.
Yes.
I was so excited when I heard that you were both joining us. So because Mark and I are always looking for great examples, especially in the family, and I was like, yeah, this fits perfect.
Mm-hmm.
You're a great leader at school as well. You always take leadership roles as well. Explain to us also what inspires you to be that leader that you are.
Okay, well, first of all, it does go back to family. My father and my grandfather were both educators, and now I'm an educator. And sometimes I see, people who think they could be leaders, but they're not as good as what people could be. And so I sometimes think to myself, I think I could do that better.
Yeah, that's definitely a motivation to see people doing it wrong. You're like, oh, what better person to do it correct than me, right? Because you can control yourself. You can't control all the other people who are doing it wrong.
Yeah. And so one thing I like to think of is there's a fine difference between a leader and a boss, and that major difference is a leader is somebody who develops a vision for what they want to accomplish, and they inspire the people who want to come aboard that vision. And so a good leader is going to lead those people into accomplishing that vision, but they're also not just the one creating the vision, they're making it with them.
Yeah. So
Awesome.
back to the quote, like true leaders, right? That's a leader. Not creating followers, they're creating new leaders, people to flourish as well, not just creating pretty much slaves, if you think about it. Like people, bosses who are not true leaders, they just want to create, slaves for them that can just work for them. They don't care about their well-being. They don't care about none of that stuff.
Yeah.
Not about them growing as a person, being happy, none of that. They just want, I just want that dollar, whatever their motive is. But yeah, so we're going to go on a short break real quick. We'll be right back with you guys with this awesome conversation.
Hi friends, welcome back to Shine with Marilena Cortez and Mark Sedgwick. We are so excited that you're joining us for this amazing conversation about leadership. And today we have the honor to have Mr. Lawrence Cohn. He is the co-founder of Leadership Partners. And I would like to ask you, what does this program entail? What is it all about exactly? So that people who might be interested in training their principals or some of the educational leaders can sign up, and what would they be looking to enjoy?
So it's a very it's a very long program. So it's not kind of go for a weekend, drive by professional development. We were talking a little bit before that one of our big missions is to really work on the whole leader the same way we work on the whole child inside the classroom, because being a principal, just like a teacher, is a very arduous job. And principals usually only last X number of years because the pressure and the burnout is so intense. Because you're putting your heart and soul into that school because you don't want to fail your teachers, you don't want to fail your kids. So one big component of our program is that every participant that goes through gets 6 rounds of what's called executive coaching. And the executive coaching isn't to help them solve problems. It's not like, oh, I've got this, this crazy parent or a bad issue with a kid. What do I do? It's not that kind of coaching. It's to make you your best self as a leader. So we have board certified coaches that that listen to listen to the participants, and they let them set their own goals, and they give them these life scripts. So there's a professional script, there's one for their spirituality, there's one for their family, there's one for their physical being, because if you can't balance yourself as a leader, you can't lead others very effectively.
That's right.
So the focus is really on making them their best selves, teaching them really positive self-talk, and making them really work their script. That takes place over a long period of time while they're coming monthly to the programming with the Rice professors. And then in the summer, we have a 5-day leadership summit, which features 5 really great national education experts that come in and work all day with them for 5 days. So it's kind of like 5 days in the summer, a day in September, October, November, December, January, February with the Rice professors, and getting the executive coaching along the way.
That's beautiful. But I was wondering, so when they go through this training and they get recharged, basically you get recharged, refueled to continue to be the best leader you can be, do you have like follow-up sessions later on that people can join?
We always encourage them to come back and take whatever they want to. Once they become what we would call an alumni, we let them come back and take other sessions if they want to.
That's beautiful.
So between REAP and now working as leadership partners, we've probably trained about pretty close to 450 leaders. Now as leadership partners, we're working with a lot of schools statewide. So we have 26 districts, 48 different schools in the program right now in 2 cohorts.
That's
So they're from the Valley, they're from the Panhandle, they're from any district you can almost think about. And a lot of them are supported from grant money that the state is giving them to improve their schools. So a lot of them are principals in failing schools. So they need balance more than anybody.
Yes, I love this. I absolutely love it because I've been in education for 22 years, and I wouldn't be here without those amazing leaders that did cross my path that I had the honor to work with. The ones that I did not enjoy, I won't lie, I only lasted maybe 2-3 years, and then I was ready to go. Yeah. But I remember I had the honor to work 10 years for the same leader in Naily ISD, and I love that. When you find great leaders, you don't want to leave. You want to stay there forever, right?
Right.
So I love what you're doing. I hope, and I want to invite all of the people that have the power to invite your principals or get them signed up for this program to do so, because we need great leaders in the schools, number one, and number two, not only great leaders, but we want them to stay being good leaders and get recharged and refueled through your program so they can continue being the best they can be.
Right.
So I really love this. Some of my friends who have graduated as principals, sometimes they get burned out. I see it, and they're like, okay, now I'm done with this. I'm gonna maybe take a vice principal role instead of the principal.
Right.
What would you recommend to some of these teachers that are frustrated and of course come to your program? But what would you recommend right now, just on the air? What are some tips that you would recommend somebody who's getting burned out? At least 1 or 2 tips. How can they get refueled or recharged?
I couldn't recommend coaching any stronger of any kind, even if you found a life coach, because you're a teacher, he's a teacher.
Yes.
I was a teacher. You get burned out just as easily. And what happens is you're putting so much effort into your job, the rest of your life starts
To crumble,
Whether-
yes.
It reminds me of the quote by Cus D'Amato, which is Mike Tyson's trainer, and he's like a well-known boxing smart guy in boxing. But anyways, so what he would say about boxing is that you're only as strong as your weakest link. So that's what he would say, and that reminds me of what you're saying, because you're saying that you guys teach how to the physical, the emotional, with the mind, the body, all those different avenues that you need to be solid in, not just during the school. You have all this pressure of, man, I gotta worry about all these kids, but if you're well-rounded with your physically, it kind of removes some of that pressure. You're like, it's not that big. It's a big deal, but I have other things I need to worry about as well that are important as well, like my physical well-being and all those other branches that you need to remember to work on, right?
And all the coaches do is set goals with them. They don't tell them what to do at all. They just ask them, what do you want for yourself professionally? What do you want for yourself with your family? What do you want?
Because everybody's different. Everybody,
And then they
yeah.
set their own goals, and they just listen, and the coaches give them back these life scripts, and they read them every day, and so they stay tight on their goals.
What do you think is one of the biggest challenges in coaching principals?
Well, I don't do the coaching myself, but it's the natural reluctance to open up to a stranger at first. But our coaches are board certified, they're very heavily trained, and so they know how to ease into these conversations. And at the end of the programming, we just coming toward the end of a cohort right now. Next Friday will be the last day for a group of them. We just ask them out loud, and we do this in the survey too, but you know, what were big takeaways for you in this program? And almost all of them talk about how they feel like a better self. And so if you can give them just that alone, if they walk away feeling better about themselves and stronger as leaders, then we've done a pretty good job. The other thing that we really focus on with them is telling their own stories. It's really important to know your own story and to be able to
Yes.
articulate it, because one thing I think principals have always been looked at as they're kind of the top dog, and people see them as needing to be kind of tough and thick-skinned and stuff like that. But in reality, the very best trait a leader could have is to be vulnerable.
Yes.
Be vulnerable and be transparent.
Be open,
You know,
yeah.
all of us have a story. We all came from some spot in some way, shape, or form, and we teach them to write their own story and then share it with their staff, because then the staff looks at them like, wow, you know, he really has a very interesting upbringing that got him to the spot, and I understand him now more. And you know, it takes guts to be vulnerable.
Yes.
Definitely.
But trying to be the tough guy all the time doesn't work so hot.
I know, and unfortunately, right now we have, or unfortunately, I've heard that some districts are even having some really big fights and nonsense discussions sometimes, that I think that it kind of filters down to the principals. I'm talking about the leaders of the principals.
Oh, sure.
And so that is so important, and we can feel it all the way down to when we're teaching, you know. And I say that not necessarily for me, but for my friends who are teaching, and they tell me the stories about how their principals are feeling from the, you know, the stress they get from their leaders. And so I would also invite all the people who have those positions to continue to get trained, find ways to channel that energy and that stress by attending some of these workshops and some of these seminars that you guys are offering, because it's important. Because unfortunately, it goes all the way down to the teachers, and then it's passed down to the students as well, that
Yeah.
stress.
No, they feel it.
Yeah. Is there anything else you want to share about the program, or things that you think are important in the educational world that we are not doing enough to become the best leaders that we can possibly be?
Well, I don't know. There's a pretty disproportionate amount of federal funding that goes to teachers versus principals, which is part of the problem. Only about 9% of the money that's earmarked for professional development goes for leadership. And actually, in the state of Texas, you're pretty hard pressed to find really good leadership development programs. There's a lot of conferences that people go to, but there's a difference between going to a conference and going through a systemic program that's focusing on, like, you know, a person as well as a professional. So I just think we need more support type programs for principals to go through. Of course, I don't want any more competition, but but it is needed. I mean, that's why we took a chance and went on a limb and, as 3 educators, open up a company, because we know it's needed, especially in Houston. I mean, think about how tough the schools are in
Oh
Houston.
my God, yes.
If you just can't be a run-of-the-mill leader and deal with the issues that these principals deal with on these campuses, you know, in Houston in particular.
Yes. So, oh my goodness, there's this topic. We could go on and talk for hours and days. So I'm going to be inviting you back if you accept the invitation.
Sure.
Right now we have to go on a short break. We'll be right back with this amazing discussion about leadership. Oh my goodness, we're here talking about leadership after the break, and it's just so much to talk about. I'm so excited that you guys join us, Mr. Matt and Lawrence. Thank you for joining us. Unfortunately, you know what? There's a lot of good leaders that are being kind of forced to leave the educational system because of all the stress that goes on and the expectations and the pressure that goes on, especially because of the taking scores and all that. But then there's also the other side where also good teachers, we're losing good teachers because we don't have good leaders. You know, good teachers quit. They're like, this is not for me. I've seen it over and over. I've seen amazing teachers that were great in science, doing all these beautiful, awesome projects, and the kids were being successful, but they quit because they had bad leaders in their school or they're in the campus. So can you talk to us a little bit about that? And then, Matt, before we go, I do want to, we would like to also discuss what a great parent and what a great leader you are as well at home. So we're going to end with those two informational pieces.
Yeah, so inside of school, there's a lot of emphasis for principals to be instructional leaders, and that's really important. But it's not their only big role. You know, there's three other huge buckets that I would say that a principal should be very, very good at, and one of them is knowing a whole lot about culture and climate. Because if you can't, as a leader, create a culture and a climate where teachers feel trust, not just trust with the principal, but trust with families, trust with students, or if you don't have teachers who feel very efficacious and supported, you won't have a good culture and climate. And you have to be able to instill a commitment in the teachers to do their best. And so that's a skill set a principal really needs that they're often not taught. And so culture trumps everything inside of a school. It doesn't make any difference if you've got great teachers. If you have a rotten culture, they're not going to work and optimize the learning inside the school. They also have to know a lot about family engagement, which they're never taught, so that's a skill that we work really hard on as well. And they have to know a lot about organizational aspects of schools, and it's probably one of the things they know the best. They know instruction real well, and they know assessment and curriculum, and they know a lot about professional learning communities and collaboration, but they need to be well-rounded in all four of those areas. And traditional preparation for principals does not teach them those.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, and that kind of goes with what we were saying earlier about, you know, like you're only as strong as your weakest link. You know, it all connects. You know, you need to be well-rounded in order to be a good leader. That's a big message, big take-home message. So yeah, as we were saying, Matt, you know, you're a parent. You know, I'm not. So my mom is a parent to me, of course, but you know, I'm a little older now. You have a little guy. So how are you a leader to him? And tell us a little bit about that.
Well, my son is only 2. He's about to be 3. But kids pick up on everything you do. Really, like you're honestly the greatest teacher to your kid. Outside of the teachers from school. They're watching what you're doing, they're listening to what you're saying, and honestly, it's from day one that they're there. So I try to make sure my son gets what he needs, and I work with him at home on reading. I talk to him, I sing with him, ABCs, I run around and dance with him, I play with him. So
That's awesome.
I think just giving him the space to play and learn and just be a kid.
That's kind of like the culture and climate thing, you know, giving him a good climate to you know, a good space to, you know, express himself and, you know, learn and all that good stuff.
And he's also got a very supportive family. I mean,
And grandparents. Oh my
Grandparents,
gosh, yes,
uncles,
I love it.
cousin.
And that's why I thought you guys were my perfect guest to talk about leadership. I just see it. I know you guys personally. I see it, and I'm just honored that you guys decided to come and talk about this topic. We are going to invite you officially to come back. Because I think this is a never-ending topic, and we can always be learning about, because guess what, guys, whatever we are learning here about leadership can be applied in our homes. Like Mark was saying, Matt is a great father because he applies a lot of those skills into his personal life. He's a great leader, not just in the school setting, but also at home. And I couldn't tell you or emphasize that enough. Try to be the best leader you can possibly be, but start at home, being the best leader you can be at home. So we look forward to seeing you guys back again. Thank you again for joining us.
Are we cutting right now?
Yeah, we're going to have to say goodbye. But yeah,
Okay.
we'd like to invite each of you to say your last thoughts,
Okay.
and then we must say
So,
goodbye.
I had a question for you guys, but I guess I'll just kind of answer it in my own way. My question was like, what if you have multiple leaders, right? like in one home, I guess, or one organization, right? Aren't they going to clash? Wouldn't you think they would clash? Or would a true leader maybe welcome more leaders so you guys can grow all together, kind of thing? What would you guys say? That's what I think. Maybe a true leader would be someone who's welcoming to more leaders so you guys can band together and create like a team, like the Avengers or X-Men, you know? That's a group of leaders
Well,
right there.
in a school, you want to distribute leadership down to your teachers and make them feel like they're part of what's going on. Who by themselves would want to do that? I mean, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
You know, if you have 200 teachers, there's no sense in trying to lead all of them. And so one thing we do is we give them the participants' personality inventories, and so they find out what their personalities are really like, because then when you want to build a team, you don't want to build a team of like-minded people. So if I'm an extrovert, I want to have an introvert on my team. If I'm an organizational freak, I need somebody who's a little bit looser on the team. You know, you have to surround yourself with and with people who complement your style and not feel threatened by them because they have a different style.
So see, that would be a whole new topic for the next show. So
Yeah.
we're gonna have to go. But isn't that awesome when we can end a show and you still want more? It's like we just gave you a little taste.
We want to talk more about it.
Yes, just gave you a little taste
y'all
of
a
it.
little
So
tease.
Yeah.
we hope we have inspired you to be the best leader you can be, to continue to shine bright, and that's what this show is about. That we hope that we can inspire to continue to shine and grow. We are here learning together,
Together.
in the universe, and we will see you next time. And remember, it's every Thursday at 5:30. Shine with Malena Cortez and Mark Sedgwick.
Oh, and you can check
Until-
out our YouTube channel, Shine with Marie and Mark. I also created a new YouTube channel to archive the show, so y'all
My
check that
son
out
loves
as well.
to interrupt me, but I love it when
I'm
you
sorry,
do.
I got to
He
put
always
it
has
in.
some good, yes. So check out our YouTube channel. Until next time, keep shining and be blessed. See you soon.
All right, guys.
El programa anterior fue